Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni moli wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so delighted that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Alexis Wintrob. She's here to celebrate Zaza's Scent-Sational superpower. Before we ask Alexis to join us in the studio to tell us all about Zaza's Scent-Sational superpower, I want to ask you, have you joined us on social media yet? We have all sorts of great times in social media. That's where we announce our book giveaways. We are giving away loads and loads of books. We just gave away a box of books to Shane Niles. He is a teacher in the Boston Public Schools. He entered one of our book giveaway contests, and he won a box of 5 books, and those 5 books include ABC Rise Up and Be by Anne-Marie Riley-Girton and Coqui in the City by Noma Perez and other books. We would love for you to be a part of our next book giveaway. The way to do it is to be sure that you're connected with us on social media. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. At Reading With Your Kids on Instagram. Our Pinterest page, Reading With Your Kids. Reading With Your Kids on YouTube. And on Twitter, it's at Jedley Magic. You can also connect with me or follow my personal page on Facebook. It's Jedley. Do it today. And also please go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and sign up for our free newsletter. Joining us right now from Cincinnati in Ohio. I am really looking forward to it because this is going to be a different interview. Our guest today has had a very fascinating life in her few years that she's been here on Earth, and I can't wait to dive into it. She's the author of Zaza's Scent-Sational superpower. Please welcome to the show, Alexis Wintrob. Alexis, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm really excited that you're here. I needed to make sure that I pronounced the title to your book correctly. Zaza's Scent-Sational superpower, with an emphasis on scent. Tell us about this book, please.
You got it. So the story is about a young girl named Zaza who has a surprise encounter with Lizzie, who's a honey-scented bee with, an unusual bee that has pink and purple, polka dot, glitter, sparkles on her. And instead of leaving Zaza with a sting, she leaves her with a scent superpower. So the story follows Zaza and Lizzie on all kinds of fun, fragrance-filled adventures. And Zaza learns from some fragrance flops and learns how to problem solve and build her confidence, while also exploring the world of scent.
I never thought I would have a conversation with somebody where the sentence or the phrase, explore the world through scent, was used. And it's really intriguing. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. That's so kind of you. Yes, fragrance is actually quite an interesting sense that many of us have and are fortunate to have, because it actually connects us in ways we don't think about in our daily life necessarily, through memories, traditions, all sorts of daily tasks. Your sense creates kind of a stamp of memory. So, for example, Zaza goes to a farmer's market, and as she explores the different ingredient stalls, she is reminded of all of loved ones and experiences and memories she has with her mom and her dad and her sister. So through scent, you're creating all kinds of memories in unexpected ways, and they may pop up in moments you just didn't expect.
Wow. I'd never thought of that. my wife tells me I don't have a great sense of smell, and I think one thing we're aware of that some people do have super scents, and a lot of us lost our scent of Smile temporarily over the past year. So hopefully we all have a better appreciation of that. But I never made the connection between memory and scent, and that certain scents can spark memories. And that's probably happened to me, but I just didn't make the connections.
You got it. So like if there's a vacation spot maybe that you've gone to, or year after year, and if, for example, I grew up going to Hilton Head, so the pine needle, kind of the warm pine needles, on the ground, anytime I get that whiff past, or I take my kids there and I'm like, okay, smell this. This is Hilton Head to me. Like you can kind of bottle that up and it takes you to that spot immediately. Yeah.
Well, I love this because we're always talking here on the show about books and how, we can take the experience of reading a book with our kids and just blow it up. And one of the ways we can do that, of course, is to help our kids be more mindful and more aware of their surroundings. So we've talked a lot about kids being out in nature and just noticing all the creatures that are living amongst them and all the different colors that are around them, all the different stories that they might be surrounded by. But we've never talked about scent and kids being aware of the different fragrances that they may be encountering. I really love this. What can we do as parents? How can we kind of train our kids to be more fragrant aware?
No, it's pretty. It's an exciting opportunity we get to do with children, is just kind of remind them, open all your senses. And it may not just be scent, encouraging them to taste new flavors and ingredients, because all of your senses are interconnected in ways. So ways, like I said, maybe you're taking a nature walk, like you mentioned, and you passed, I have the lawnmower going behind me. You smell that fresh green grass and kind of encouraging kids, oh wait, do you smell that? Or maybe you're baking something, a family recipe. So maybe it's your grandma's chocolate chip cookies that she has a special recipe with. And as you're baking that with your kids, you can remind them, the history of, where the recipe may have come from, or, especially now during the pandemic, we haven't been able to be as physically near some of our loved ones, but through scent, we can kind of have that virtual hug. If you're making grandma's recipes, it's kind of, in a way, and enveloping you in memories of grandma, possibly. Yeah. So even just little moments of everyday life, you can encourage kids to open up their senses. That's really,
I just had this thought of, you're baking grandma's special recipe for banana bread, whatever it is. Yeah. And this is a recipe that's been passed down for a couple of generations. Just think about having a conversation with your kids about the fact that, hey, when your grandfather was 5 years old, he smelled the same smell that you're experiencing right now.
Exactly. It's really can be very, very powerful and touching, to create that generational connection through scent.
Now, we're not just being, I imagine that somebody out there is listening thinking, oh man, this Jedley is off his rocker here with this memory and imagining what Grandpa smelled. But there's a science behind it, and we know that it works because companies spend lots and lots of money to use fragrances to create these kind of environments. Am I right about that?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Scent it's just such a connector in, consumer product goods. So maybe your shampoo, your body wash, your laundry detergent. There is a lot of effort being put in to make those scents really meaningful to consumers and create those connections to them. So there might be a laundry detergent that really, really well, and the minute you smell that clean T-shirt, like, oh, there's my there's the brand I go to, you know, based on that connection to scent.
Yeah.
So big business there.
I experience the opposite when I substitute a laundry detergent that my beautiful wife isn't a fan of, or if I forget to put the dryer sheet in, she knows. She doesn't say anything when she smells that lovely smell that she loves so much. She makes sure she lets me know that she doesn't smell it and is not happy about that.
You got it. Even the absence of scent can spark conversation, I'm sure.
So what inspired you to write Zaza's Scent-Sational Superpower?
You know, there were probably two main areas of inspiration for me. I mean, the first was, like many authors probably, after having children and reading so many picture books to my children, I thought, gosh, this would be really fun to do. But I wasn't quite sure what to write about. So it took me a while. And I'm like, okay. Finally, I was like, you know, I kind of uniquely know something about fragrance, which kids might not know a lot about. And I was introduced to fragrance while working at Procter & Gamble. I had a chance to join their R&D organization to forecast fragrance and flavor trends, and also be part of their perfumer and training program. But I actually was a lot like a child in a way, because it was 101. My background was art history and French and fashion. So coming into this technical yet creative world was very new. So I learned about the basics of fragrance there. I learned about this connection to memory. I also saw my colleagues and mentors and managers navigate the world. Many of them were female leaders who navigated, you know, the world of technology and science, and they had, you know, work hard to get there as female leaders in the company. So that really inspired me too. Like, how cool would it be if kids could learn about these possible STEM careers in STEM from a young age, like being a perfumer, working in a fragrance or in a technical lab, creating innovative technologies. And also just like this amazing connection again that scent provides for individuals. And so I kind of put my childlike lens on that I took when I joined this role and wanted to bring, this to young readers and families.
Wow. Now, I know I've heard if you're selling a home, you should bake some cookies before the open house and things like that. That works, right? There's a science behind that?
There is science around scented environments and how it creates a connection. There's actually a whole industry of scent marketing. So whether it's casinos or hotels, there is so much going on in fragrance development to help create an impactful environment. So for example, actually a sneaker brand tested in a store where they had a scent in the store and one without, and their sales skyrocketed in the one that had scent. Same product, everything else the same, but it's just really interesting how it can have an impact.
You know, the 7-year-old in me can't resist but asking, so what was the scent in the sneaker store? Like toe jam or something?
I know. Maybe some good, clean rubber, grass again to kick back fall. To be honest, I'm not quite sure what they ended up using. I think it was more of there's something that reminds me of a floral, but again, I'd have to get back to you on that one.
There are a certain sense. I know. I never make the connections, but I know when I buy my wife lilies, and they're in the house, and and they're there for a day, and then I'll come home and I'll walk through, and it's like I'm in a funeral home. It's just like that. That's one smell that, boom, I have a connection with. Absolutely.
You got it.
Yeah.
Scent can be very polarizing. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, how can we, because one of the things we talk about here on the podcast is helping our kids become literate, not only literate in terms of being able to read, but financially literate, by being media literate, understanding that media is being created. What kind of things can we teach our kids when we're in an environment, when we walk into a place and it's like, wow, that smells really good. Probably didn't smell that way naturally. Maybe people are doing this intentionally. How can we help our kids become more scent literate so that they understand when they walk into a store and it smells a certain way? Maybe there's some influence going on here, and you want to be more aware so that you're not taken in and spend more money or spend money that you didn't intend to spend.
Very, very good question. I think it's a great question to ask. I think it's important to teach children this is a possibility for sure in an environment, and try to create those natural connections, and maybe explain more from the business side too of, they may have picked this, for example, a vanilla scent when we walked into this environment, because historically vanilla shows a lot of calm and coziness, and they wanted you to feel comfortable when you walked into this store or this environment. But no, that's just one aspect of your experience here, but you're aware, kind of what the cues are, and try to, stay true to yourself. And if it feels natural to, explore this environment and you're getting that sensation or that sense connection, that's great. But you're kind of aware that there is, innovation going on here at the same time.
Yeah.
There's been science put behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know that there's some neat things on your website that can, that families can take part in all around fragrance. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, absolutely. The website has some fragrance, or sensorial activities that parents can do at home. They are free. They have links to other, resources as well, to explore scent, but they're for young children to, whether it's practicing your scent memory or getting to paint with spices. It's just kind of this very fun and interactive way to play with scent from home. And you can do it with your family, or it can just be as easy as there's some instructions there about how you can bake something at home with your little ones, or go on that nature walk. It gives you some tips for maybe taking out a journal. So you capture and kind of create a scent memory yourself. Because a lot of it, at least when I was training in perfumery, a lot of it's repetition. So scent practice. And like, if you're smelling those cookies over and over again, it starts to be part of that memory practice and association.
Yeah. A lot of fun. I'm just thinking of all the places I go where I encounter really strong, pleasant fragrances. We won't go with the not so pleasant fragrances, but the circus, when you walk into a circus thing, you are hit with that smell of popcorn. And, in years past, maybe the animals, but that popcorn definitely whacks you as you're walking through the door. And, other, state fairs where there's the candy apples and all that sort of thing. Really, really cool things.
You got it. Yeah, that's exactly that kind of connection that you may not think about till you walk right in there, right?
Yeah. I share this funny moment my wife experienced teaching during the pandemic via Zoom. It was, my wife's a special needs teacher, so she had very small class sizes, so she would be on a Zoom with 2 or 3 kids, and it was very intimate. The kids were in their home, and their teacher was right there with them, and my wife could see into the rooms and whatnot. There was this one morning in particular, one of her students turned and said, "Miss G, what's that smell? Can you smell it? It's so strong." And my wife's like, "I'm not in your house. I'm looking over Zoom." And he's like, "No, it's right there. How can you not smell it?"
It's so true. Yeah, but that's a great point that you have there. Like, it can be good, but it can be bad. And your sense of smell can actually, hopefully the child was safe and all was fine. Yes. Which is good. But it can be a signal of like something might not be safe. So pointing those elements out as well, that your nose can help you find and Zaza explores this as well a little bit, like what smells good and what maybe smell not so good are all signals of action that might need to be taken sometimes.
That's a great point. We had an author on not too long ago. The name of her book was, I think it was How Smelly Kelly Saved New York City. And there was back in the 1800s, this guy had a super scent of smell, and he would go down the subways and detect gas leaks and save thousands of lives in that way. And I never thought that, there are lots of smells that our kids need to be aware of so that they can get help or get away, if they smell it. There's certainly smoke and gas, if there may be a gas leak. Some of those noxious odors that come from the bathroom, that might be an indication that there's something going on. So many great conversations can be had as we're experiencing Zaza's Scent-Sational superpower. I'm curious, with somebody you shared with us, you have this background in art history, you went to work in the STEM fields at Procter & Gamble, you trained to be a perfumer. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Perfumer. Now you wrote a children's book. It seems like you're really happy with it. Have you caught the bug? Is there going to be a line, like we have fragrance lines? Are we going to have a line of Zaza Scent-Sational books?
Hopefully, that would be fun. I'm working on the second one now, and Lizzie and Zaza are in it, but they invite a few friends and explore using scent to kind of spread kindness throughout their community. So I'm very hopeful and grateful to you and other authors you've had on your podcast to learn from them, because I'm definitely new to this world, but it's very, very exciting.
That's really cool. I got to ask too. Are we going to have scratch and sniff versions of Zaza's Scent-Sational books? Keep me fingers crossed.
Something like that. That would be really fun. I'm hopeful.
All right. Well, if anybody can do it, somebody with your background certainly can do it. Alexis, tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Zaza, find out more about you.
You can go to the website, and again, it has those activities that you can do with your family, which is at zazassensationalsuperpower.com. And we can also be followed on Instagram at Zazas_scent.
Awesome. We've had a really fun time talking about scents and helping our kids become more scent literate, and also talking about Zaza's Scent-Sational superpower with the author Alexis Wintrob. Hey, Alexis, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We have two fantastic authors joining us. Renda Beach will be back on the program, and we'll also be welcoming back Deborah Green. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on the podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic book, and it doesn't cost a thing. No need to pay anybody to facilitate your visit. All you need to do is visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. Scroll on down to be a guest. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. I want to start by thanking our guest, Alexis Wintrob. Be sure to check out Zaza's Scent-Sational superpower. Also want to thank my team, Alejandro Doherty, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.